from inside Memorial Stadium. This is the Huskers Radio Network podcast. All Huskers, all the time. Here's your host, Jessica Coody.
Welcome back into another episode of the Huskers Radio Network podcast. I'm Jessica Coody, and if you have gotten to know me over the last year, you know I am super passionate about talking about women's sports and also talking to women in sports. So naturally, I'm super pumped about today's episode and the conversation we have coming for you today because we welcome in two of the newest additions to the Husker football recruiting staff, Taylor McDaniel, who's the Director of Recruiting, and Brittany Oligmueller, I said it right?
You did.
Who is the Director of On-Campus Recruiting. So ladies, thanks so much for coming in. I've been hitting you guys up for a couple weeks. You guys just got back from vacation, so thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We were very excited.
So let's just start your title and the Director of On-Campus Recruiting, Director of Recruiting. What goes into the titles and what your duties are? Taylor, you can start.
Okay, so I actually work with our Senior Director of Recruiting and Player Personnel, Vince Ginta. He's recently new to the staff as well, but we kind of work hand in hand, kind of overseeing what we want the vision for the program to be in terms of recruiting and how it relates to our incoming prospects, kind of overseeing the visits and getting them to campus and that sort of thing, and kind of the content plan of what we want the message to be for each class, 23s, 2024s, and so forth, going on from that route.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I am really just Taylor's right-hand gal. So whatever she needs, I am there to help her, whether that is helping with official visits, unofficial visits, anything along those lines. And then I'm also in charge of the academics and admissions part of the process. So making sure that their eligibility is correct, making sure they're getting enrolled on time, all of that fun stuff. And then also with their move-in process, kind of be their liaison during their transition process from a recruit to an actual Husker football player, which is really exciting. So I'll be there on move-in day and help facilitate that as well.
Did y'all know each other before you came here?
We did not at all.
But you hired her?
Yes, I did.
So how did that process go?
So Brittany actually volunteered and worked as a student here last summer or 2 summers ago.
Last summer.
And so our DFO, Andrew, kind of recommended her and talked very highly of her. And some of the other guys that are here still with the recruiting staff talked very highly of her. So it was kind of a no-brainer. She's from Nebraska. She lives and breathes Husker football. So I just knew it was right.
Yeah, so tell us about your journeys, your stops along the way to get you here, Brittany, because you're from Nebraska.
Yes, so I was born and raised in Nebraska, originally from Elkhorn, Nebraska. And I started working actually at Huddle for 2 years while I was a student here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And I loved Huddle because it really showed me how women can impact the world of sports. And being in that position, I was like, wow, okay, I really like the sports industry. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet, if I wanted to work in athletics or not. And then there was an opening to work as a student here in recruiting with Nebraska Football, and I just kind of randomly applied and got it, which was fantastic because I honestly fell in love with it and decided, yes, this is what I want to do. So I decided to go to grad school for sports management. So I went down to the University of Florida and worked under Lee Davis and Katie Turner, who are two incredible women in the world of football recruiting. Learned a lot from them, and then I got hired back here with Taylor.
What was your undergrad in?
Actually, it was in finance.
Okay.
Yes, so not really much to do with sports. But yeah, so that's why I'm taking the sports management route now.
Okay, got it. Okay, and what about you, Taylor?
Similar background to Brittany. So I'm originally from Arkansas, like I mentioned earlier. I went to Arkansas State, got involved as a student worker. I did that all 4 years of undergrad, and then shortly after that, I had the opportunity to stay there and move into the Director of On-Campus Recruiting role there, but I got an offer to work at the University of Tennessee as the On-Campus Recruiting Coordinator. So I was there for right at a year, February of 2021 to February of 22. And then from there, I accepted a position as the coordinator of on-campus recruiting at Kansas State University. Brief stint there, and then I got the position here. So I've been here since mid-May, and yeah. My background is in biology, so also not in football or sports related at all. But like Brittany, I am also taking my getting my master's in sports admin.
Wow, that's very cool. So you both talked about kind of indirectly kind of finding your way to recruiting. So when you got there, what did you fall in love with about the potential of recruiting?
So I, like I said, was a biology major, and I was doing that with hopes of being a pediatric surgeon.
Wow.
And what drew me to that is the ability to make a difference in someone's life. And when I got in the position of working in football recruiting, a lot of the gentlemen that we have a privilege of working with don't always come from the best situations. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer of that I still get to make a difference in those lives. So I think God put me in that position for a reason, and I can still do what I love and what I believe that He put me on this earth to do. So that is why I love football recruiting, just making a difference in their lives.
Oh, that gives me chills. It's so cool.
Yes, I completely agree. I just have a passion with people. I love talking to people, interacting with people, and seeing these recruits and help them find their home away from home and make a difference in their lives is truly why I love football recruiting so much. Just that process of watching them grow from a recruit, coming to your school, going into the league, it's just so incredible to watch, and knowing that I made a difference in that gentleman's life is absolutely game-changing.
Relationships, right?
That is
100%.
everything.
Right? So you talked about Vince, and we had him in on the show a couple months ago, right before you guys kicked off a busy June. But what drew you to working for him, and what did you believe? Because you said you were at Kansas State briefly. What made you believe in the direction he was taking Nebraska as far as recruiting goes?
So as Vince loves to mention, he has been here before, and Nebraska has always held a special place in his heart. And when I came and interviewed here, hearing him talk about that and his passion and belief to be behind Coach Frost kind of inspired me even more so, because I know that he's a great man. I knew the people that worked under him and what they thought of him, but Vince kind of shed a different light on it for me, and just seeing his passion and him wanting to get Nebraska football back to what it used to be kind of spoke to me in a different way that I didn't think it was going to, honestly. So Vince is a great guy.
And Brittany, for you, when you decide I know this is home and you bleed Husker
Yes.
red, but it's also about who you work with. So what made you believe in what Taylor was doing?
Yeah, honestly, the exact same thing. The first phone call we ever had together, we instantly kind of clicked. It was a wonderful conversation. I thought it lasted 10 minutes, when in reality it lasted an hour.
Wow.
We just kind of kept talking, and everything we both envisioned Nebraska football to be, and everything that Vince wants it to be as well. We were very much aligned on that. So not only having Taylor as a partner, but as a really good friend is just another reason why I love working here.
That's amazing.
Yes.
You mentioned the women that you worked under. I told you guys that I worked at Oklahoma with Annie Hansen, who was one of the first women that got a start in this as well. So what has been your perspective on how this recruiting has grown, and opportunities for women in recruiting and in this world of recruiting?
Yeah, well, it's huge. I mean, going back to previous coaches we've had here at Nebraska, they've had no women that work in the football department, and so just knowing that we can make an impact and we can show younger females that they can work in sports too is something that's so monumental to me, just because I love being able to make that impact.
I agree with that. And, we talk about women in sports being a huge deal in and of itself, but me being me, minority women in sports is another level of something that I aspire to, keep growing. And Vince and I talked about that during my interview, and I think we share the same views on that. Love women in sports, love Brittany to death, but trying to get, more minority women in sports that have a voice that can make those connections that are sometimes missing in what we do is huge for me and why I do this.
Vince had talked about, and I've heard this before from other coaches, and as far as having a woman on the recruiting staff, a lot of times moms feel more comfortable asking questions to women about some of the other things that they want to know about where they're sending their babies to college,
yes.
right?
100%.
So is that what you
100%,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I always make a point, to tell the moms, please come to me if you have any questions. I promise I will tell you the absolute truth and be genuine throughout this process, because that's another core value that Nebraska football has, is being genuine and being real. So being able to be that person for moms to go to.
100%. And it's funny how many moms come up to us, I think this is a silly question, so they don't want to ask the guys, because to them it's a silly question, but it's a really valid question that needs to be answered. So being that person that they can come to answer those important questions is huge for them, I think.
So when you get into recruiting as a student, I'm sure a lot of it is just following the direction of who's in charge, right? So as you transition into now being into these roles where you're kind of coming up with those own ideas yourself. How does that process work where you're smiling? How does it where you're thinking on your own of what, hey, I can bring to the recruiting realm?
100%. It's very eye-opening, kind of like I mentioned with the stops I've been at. I have worked my way, I guess, to the top very quickly. I graduated a little over a year and a half ago, so I haven't had the luxury, I guess, of kind of learning, bits and pieces at every school I've been at. It was kind of learn at Arkansas State, learn at Tennessee, and then, okay, now it's your show, what can you bring to the table? And so it has been challenging at moments, but bringing people like Brittany and having Vince, people that have been, again, at other schools and other, kind of schools that have done really good in the recruiting, it has been helpful. So we can all kind of bring our ideas together. Me and Brittany brainstorm all the time. That is all we do is brainstorm of how we can, get Nebraska recruiting and then enhance that to be one of the best in the country.
Yeah, I totally agree with Taylor. Just like Taylor, I moved so quickly. Like she mentioned, I was just a student worker just last June. And so now being back here in a full-time role is so incredible, but it's also, again, very eye-opening to the ideas that you have. But Taylor and I will text each other and have ideas, or I'm always going into her office and being like, hey, did you see this? Things like that to bring new things to the table.
So I think probably maybe some people don't realize the process that goes into maybe developing a theme for a certain recruiting class, right? So you have a hashtag or whatever.
We talked about that this morning.
Yes, we did. Finding a new one.
So take us through that and maybe explain to people why that you guys want to approach that in that way where each class has its special theme.
So I think it's important to figure out what Coach Frost wants his vision to be. Every year the football program in itself has a theme of what it's working towards or what the goals are going to be, and so I think building that and seeing his vision of what he wants the next class, what are we looking for? Do they need to be gritty? Do they need to be tough? And kind of relaying that into what we on the recruiting creative side can take his vision to be. Our recruiting staff and our content staff work hand in hand of kind of laying out that, our content guys, we hire them because that's what they do. They're the best. They have the ideas.
They absolute best.
Yeah. Everything. So, me and Brittany went in there for our 23 hashtag. We kind of got thrown into it here. And we went in their office, I don't know, one random Wednesday, and like, hey, we want a hashtag. And the next morning we were all brainstorming how to hashtag that afternoon. So,
and that's actually a funny story to bring up because the very first day I got here, I was like, we need a hashtag. That was one of the first things I said, just because not only is it so important to follow the vision that Coach Frost has, but it's also really important to evolve just with other schools. When recruiting is evolving, you got to stay on track. You got to stay competitive. And so the recruits coming in, they now love hashtags that they can post on Twitter or they can do whatever with. So coming in, that was really important to me to just create a fun one that our guys can use. And yeah, I think we did a good job. And so hopefully we'll continue that with the 2024 class.
That kind of stuff stresses me out, but it
stresses me out.
Oh, yeah.
It gives these athletes, they have a sense of pride, and this is their class, and you see them when they're recruiting each other, that they use the hashtag, and they talk about it, and they posting the photos. It's a big part of what goes into the overall recruiting.
Absolutely. And it's something tangible, too, that they can post or they can have in their back pocket that they can use however they want.
So if fans are listening in right now, what's the hashtag we need to be using to be recruiting this next class?
It's hashtag Go Big Red, except the R and the E in red is a 23. So the 2 kind of looks like an R, and the 3 is kind of like a backwards E. But if you put it all together, it still says Go Big Red.
Nice.
And if you have any ideas for the hashtag of 24, please let us know.
Yes, DM us. Our DMs are always open. Please let us know.
So when you guys get here, you hit the ground running, right?
Yes.
June is absolutely bonkers, and you guys have a ton of momentum. So walk me through the process of when you each arrived and what was the goal when you got here?
Yeah, so even the process of me being hired to getting here happened within a week. Yeah. I got hired within about 48 hours, and then I was here that next Monday because we had an official visit coming in that next Thursday. So it was just very, 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 very fast. But yeah, very worth it.
My process, kind of like Brittany, was very fast. When I got here, came on a Monday, and we had recruits coming in on a Thursday. And so while I wasn't the one kind of planning that first week, Vince took me along for everything. And, it was even, what do you think about this? Or how do you want to change this for June? So mine was more of kind of, this is what we do now. How do you think you can enhance it within the next week and a half?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So when you go about that in June, how did you approach planning for all of those camps and the official visits? Because you had guys coming on to go through the camps, but then you also had official visits that were getting a glimpse of what this place could be like. So how do you plan that?
Right before we kicked off June, we had a staff meeting, and Coach Frost said it's going to take everyone in this building to make this vision come to life. And it truly took every individual in the building. We had our content guys were working registration tables, and Aura was clocking kids at camp. Like, it took everyone in the building to make that, become a reality and make us have a successful June that we did have. So it was kind of making sure that we were all on the same page. We did split camps and kind of the official visits into two separate things. Operations staff had camps, and we had obviously the recruiting visits, and it kind of was, okay, Andrew, you have this person and this person, but I need this person and this person, so let's figure it out which day you have them and which day I have them. So it was a lot, but we made it through, and it was a very successful June overall.
Oh yeah, completely agree.
I was going to say, when June ended, did you feel pretty good about what you guys accomplished in that month?
We did. And we still have some lingering things coming, so we did feel really good about it.
Yeah.
So when a kid comes on campus, when they leave with their family, what in your, I guess, when you feel like, okay, that went well, what goes into that? If you know what I'm asking,
yes.
So if someone comes on, what constitutes or what makes a successful visit for a kid when you feel good about when they leave campus?
I would say a few things. So once they leave on Sunday, we do one final, are you sure you had all of your questions answered? Because we don't want you to leave with questions unanswered, because that makes us feel uneasy, and I'm sure it makes them feel uneasy. And even if it's mom, again, well, I don't really want to ask this, because I don't, you know what I mean? So that sort of thing. So that, and that's kind of when we kick off the weekend. Coach Frost starts our meeting with, please don't leave here feeling like, anyone was ungenuine or you have questions that still need to be answered. So I think a sense of relief when we know that we did that. Things happen. We always say, internal, if the roof falls in, we plan for it to happen. So kind of keeping a strong front and a happy face, even if things aren't always going as we wanted them to, they're going exactly how they need to be. So
yes, we adapt and adjust. You took a very different approach than I was. I was going kind of the funny route. I was going to be like, oh, when they commit, it's been a good visit.
100%. That's always a good sign.
But also it's all about how they feel too. You can really gaze when a person is happy and if they had a really great visit. And so just if they have a smile on their face as they're walking out the door, I feel wonderful, and I feel like we accomplished something so big for them. So yeah, just about that feeling that they have.
We get a lot of questions too. Right behind us, this massive facility that's going up. How much does that play into when kids are coming on campus now that you can actually kind of see all the things that are going to go into helping you develop into the student athlete that you want to become here?
It plays a lot into it. That's actually how we start every recruiting visit, is talking about that building. And, and it's nice to have the infrastructure here now, because we can go to different aspects of campus and say, this is going to be that, and you can actually kind of sort of visualize it more than you could have. So we go across the street to the business building, we look back at it and say, okay, this is the entrance, so I think it is finally becoming a reality. It's easy to put up a video and say, oh, this is going to be that, but if you don't see it in motion, it's kind of like, okay, well, every school in the country says that.
Right.
So.
Well, because now these kids that are being recruited are going to be able to utilize that.
Exactly.
So because you were here before, what has been, when a recruit comes on campus, what makes them fall in love with Nebraska?
Honestly, I feel like the tradition Nebraska just has, the tunnel walk, our black shirts, the consecutive sellouts, the amount of fans that come to every game. I think the fans and the tradition of Nebraska really brings Nebraska to a whole new level, knowing that no matter if we win or lose, fans are going to be there and they're going to stay and they're going to cheer you on. And not only that, but they're going to be very nice to you. Having nice fans is a total game changer, I want to say. It's just so nice being able to go on Twitter and see people still rooting us on and having a blast.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of that because when you asked that, I took it in a different light of when I came to Nebraska to interview, it was kind of like I didn't know what to expect, not from a program sort of view, but like Lincoln in general. So, we talked about things that you can see and different things like that. Well, I can say, when we had a few recruits on campus this past June, I've had several moms say to me, I really didn't know what to expect. Obviously you can Google the program, you can Google the history, but it's like until you get here and get to experience, A, the relationships and kind of get a feel for our staff, and B, see how beautiful the campus is, see what downtown Lincoln looks like. It's kind of eye-opening. Especially the last weekend, that mom, she loved every bit of it. She said, when I got on the plane, I asked my son, she was like, why are we going to Lincoln, Nebraska? And she was like, I never would have, wanted to come here if it weren't for him. I never would have wondered what it was like, because in her mind it was all cornfields and, nothingness. But when she got here, she absolutely fell in love.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what it is for a lot of our recruits too, because we recruit out of state a lot as well as in state, and so bringing those kids in from far away, they're like, I've never stepped foot in Nebraska in my life. Like, I have no idea what's going on here. But again, like being an in-state
product.
Yes, in-state product, I guess, and then actually coming to the University of Nebraska, it's just so different, like the experience of being in-state versus out.
So you guys have a big role in the recruiting, I know, but ultimately it's the coaches also have to, be a big part 100%. Of it too, right? And so you've both been at different places, Florida, Tennessee. So what's been your take on, say, Mickey Joseph, Coach Applewhite, Brian Applewhite, and their recruiting style and the recruit and the talent that they've been able to bring in?
I think those two in particular, it's very personal for them, so they want to do a good job. They take a lot of pride in the guys that they bring here and a lot of guys that they recruit. And so I think that brings a different light to it because they're very passionate about it. They want things to be done, not, as perfect as it can, because we're all human. We make mistakes, but they want everything to be, up to the standard of what Nebraska should be. And I think they've done a really good job of kind of changing the flow of our recruiting, what it has been and what it's going to be, and I love those guys. Yes, they have set us on the track for success.
Wow.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I love them so much. I don't think I can say enough good things about them. I'd be here for hours. But yeah, I don't even know what to add. I think you got it all, but hopefully out of this you can just see both of our love for both of them.
Yeah, it seems like there's just this whole new energy and passion about it, and probably a lot of it comes from the energy, and that we've heard that from on the field too, just the energy and the weight room, just the different kind of, and Bill Bush obviously too.
Yes.
Did you know Bill Bush before?
I actually did not, but he's from Pender, Nebraska, and my dad's side of the family lives really close there in Taponka, Nebraska, and so that was one of the main things that we bonded on. Like first day coming back, he was like, "Hey, like you're from things." So yeah, that was really awesome to get to know him.
Yeah, he's a character. We love having him. Yes, he's a great storyteller. So I know we've been chatting a while, but what are your goals and plans when you take on this job? I'm sure it's a whirlwind, but now that you've settled in a little bit, what do you have goals? Do you have plans? How do you go about approaching what the next year looks like? Is it a year in advance? Is it 2 years? How does that work for someone in recruiting?
I would say next year, as soon as we finish Brittany, I told her, man, I can't wait for season for December, because we were kind of thrown into it and it was kind of hard to make everything, to a T of what we wanted June to look like. While it was very successful, there are things that we would change from a more, I'd say girly, but things would be tweaked. And so, yes, the details. Some of the fine details need to be tweaked, and that's why we're excited, moving forward to season and official visits in December and January, because to us, they will be perfect. They will be up to our standard, So, I don't know, it's exciting, we keep saying top 25, but look, top 10 recruiting class coming soon.
Yes. That's awesome. And then when you go about recruiting kids that are coming on campus, whether it be unofficial, official, how does that process work when you guys are planning? Is it now? I mean, how does it go?
Yeah, at all times, really. Unofficial and official visits, they take a lot of time to plan. I don't know if people really realize that unless they are in this position, how long these visits actually take. So we're kind of constantly planning and brainstorming of what we want to do and what we want to have in their hotel rooms and what we want to have when they get here and where we're going to go to dinner and all of those little things. We try to plan really months in advance.
Right now we are obviously working on in-season visits, those unofficial visits, but we've already started to take a look at what December is going to look like, what January is going to look like, and honestly how we can tweak things for next June.
Yes.
So I would say we work about a year in advance,
and game days too. So Taylor and I both haven't worked a game day here at Nebraska yet, so being able to really bring both of our ideas together and create a whole new unofficial process will be very exciting.
Obviously, it's exciting every time someone announces their commitment here. But for you guys, what's the feeling like when you see an announcement?
I wish you guys could see our text messages.
Yes.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, there was once where I was inside of Shields when someone committed, and I was jumping up and down inside of Shields.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like me talking to my parents, yes, they keep up with it, but being from Arkansas, they aren't as tuned in. Being a little older, they're not as tuned in. But when I text them, Mom, you won't believe this.
That's awesome.
Yes, family group chats go wild.
So if fans are listening in, and how can they help? Is there something they can do to help when you guys are going through all these processes?
I would say be patient with us. It is a work in progress, and we are getting there, and I think we're going to be there a lot sooner than a lot of people are giving us credit for. So be patient, but be positive, and honestly, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say it. Because not only does it have, bring a lot of negative attention to our guys, and they're dealing with that while they're trying to focus on season and classes. They have a lot going on as well, but that's also shedding a negative light on our recruiting process as well, And people think, oh, well, no one's ever going to see this, but there are players and guys, that will come to us and say, look at what this person said, and it's really hard for them to have to deal with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and us too.
And
honestly, yeah. We see it all the time. We still go on Twitter. We're still active. So just saying that sometimes is a little bit sad. But I think another way that fans could help is being active on social media. I know right now in the recruiting world, that is huge. The 2023s, the 2024 guys, they love Twitter and they love to post. So if fans can just be so interactive on their posts and their commitments or their offers here, I think that would be so beneficial because they really, really care about that.
And follow them, right?
Yes,
100%.
yes.
Use the hashtag.
Follow, hashtag, retweet, quote, whatever.
So Twitter is the popular thing again? Because it was Twitter, then it was Instagram. Is it Twitter again?
I think it
Probably
is Twitter
both.
again. I think they're trying to get Instagram up. From what I see and, their lives, they're trying to get Instagram back up again because it's always, help me get to 10,000 followers.
Yes.
I'm 10,000 followers? Oh, my gosh.
Well, where can fans follow you guys? And you said if you have ideas or whatever to DM you. So where can they follow you guys?
Yeah, pretty much on any social media platform. I'd say Twitter is probably the main one.
And give us your handle.
Mine is Britt Oligmueller, so BRIT, and then my last name.
I honestly have no
I think
idea
yours
what
is
mine is.
K_McDaniel.
Let's
if I
see.
remember
That's probably
correctly.
about right.
No?
Let's see.
I think that's right.
Oh, yeah, I think that is.
You are Tay_McDaniel01.
Oh, I was close.
There we go. So yeah, follow them on Twitter.
I think I know.
And you can stay up to date with everything and all the hashtags and all of that good stuff. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in. It was a fascinating conversation. If we have other follow-up questions, if fans want to know any questions, we might have you back again and revisit. Because I imagine come December signing day, you're gonna feel a whole lot different about once you get through a football season for sure.
I can't wait. It'll be so fun.
And welcome aboard. I'm still new here, so now I can welcome you guys. So happy to have you guys and you back on board and you on board, and we'll look forward to hopefully a fun football season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, and again, make sure you subscribe and like wherever you listen so you never miss an episode right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Go Big Red.